questions. That's what you're supposed to do.
Pedro and Chantel were one of the couples who had been together the longest on 90 Day Fiancé until they shocked the world and they announced their divorce, and now it's pretty obvious that Pedro's in a new relationship and you'll never believe the story behind it. So Pedro and Chantel are officially over. They've been having issues for ages, and so we all saw it coming, and Pedro finally filed for divorce on May 27th, and ever since then both Chantel and Pedro have been accusing each other of a bunch of pretty bad stuff, including cheating, and Chantel claims that Pedro cheated on her, and she might not be wrong, because it looks like Pedro has moved on from Chantel pretty quickly and is now dating one of his co-workers, Antonella, and this relationship came as no surprise. I mean, if you've seen the show, you know that there was always something weird going on between Pedro and Antonella, and they definitely weren't just co-workers. She kept leaving her things with him, and he would drive her everywhere and go out with her until late at night, and she literally labeled his stuff with her name, like his keys, and which Chantel found out about and confronted her, and Antonella's reaction to that was actually pretty telling. She just looked so nervous and guilty, and it was super obvious that there was something going on between her and Pedro, and even though he and Chantel were still married at that point, I mean, when Chantel talked to Pedro about it, he pretty much denied it, and he said that Antonella had a husband and a baby, and that they weren't together, but Chantel didn't buy it. Neither did I, to be honest, and they were just so obvious of their relationship that they at least, had to be having an emotional affair at that point at least, and plus it doesn't really mean anything that Antonella had a husband and a baby, because Pedro had a wife as well, and it didn't exactly stop him from doing all that with Antonella. If he could cheat on Chantel, Antonella could easily be cheating on her husband as well, and that's just such a weird excuse on Pedro's side. It doesn't make any sense, and for the longest time though, we didn't know what exactly was going on between Pedro and Antonella, and it was obvious that they at least had feelings for each other, but we didn't know anything beyond that for sure. But there are some things that have recently come out that pretty much confirmed what we all thought this whole time, and it looks like Pedro and Antonella are now together for real. First of all, Antonella actually deleted her husband's name and their anniversary date from her bio on Instagram, and she used to have his name, Daniel Hannah, in the bio, but now she just has some sort of inspirational quote about life and happiness in her bio. No mention of any of her relationships, nothing at all, and I think this might mean that she and Daniel are going through something similar to Chantel and Pedro. I feel like they're at least breaking up, and they might have even been, getting a divorce for all we know, and this just goes to show that Pedro's excuse about her being in a relationship was just that, an excuse, because now it seems like they're both ending their marriages, presumably so they can be together officially, because we all know that they've probably been together for a while now, even though neither of them has, admitted it. And I mean, Pedro's mom actually follows Antonella on Instagram, and Antonella follows her back, and I think that pretty much says it all now, don't you? I mean, there's no way Pedro's mom would be following Antonella if they were just work friends. That would be way too weird, and so it makes me think that she and Pedro are definitely together and have probably been for a while now, and Pedro's mom knows about it, and Antonella also deleted the short from her wedding that she previously posted on TikTok, and this again makes me think that she and Daniel are definitely not together anymore, and she's been deleting all mentions of him and their relationship off her social media, and that's a pretty huge sign that things aren't going great. And this makes me wonder though, was it Antonella who decided to leave Daniel for Pedro, or did Daniel break up with her after watching the show? Because let's be honest, the way she was with Pedro on the show would make anyone super uncomfortable, and Daniel is supposed to be her husband. I doubt he liked watching all that, and it isn't just Antonella who's been all over the place on her social media. Pedro's actually been pretty weird on his socials as well. He recently turned off his Instagram comments without any explanation whatsoever. He just did it, and I think it was most likely because he's getting a lot of hate ever since the divorce news first dropped, and people have been blaming him for how things ended up, which seems kind of fair if you ask me. And I mean, he was the one who filed for divorce, and he was the one who stopped trying, and Chantel was clearly trying to save their relationship, and she still had feelings for Pedro, and she was fighting for their marriage, but he just seemed so cold and distant distant and even a bit bitter towards her, which, didn't make any sense at all, because he did say that there was more to the story, and he's been accusing Chantel of all sorts of things, but with how he treated her on the show, and with his potential affair with Antonella, no one's really on his side in all this. So I get if he turned off his comments because it was just becoming a bit too much, and maybe he just wanted to maintain some privacy and take a break from all the negativity towards him, and maybe that's why Chantel's been deleting stuff off her social media as well, because she wants more privacy, and it should have been pretty obvious to her that deleting any mentions of her husband and her wedding was always going to make things worse for her, and people have been asking questions because she deleted all those things, and if she was just to, left it all as it was, no one would be talking about this, at all. But then again, if she and Daniel are really over, it wouldn't make any sense for her to keep his name in her bio, especially if she and Pedro are a thing now, and it's also possible that Pedro turned off his Instagram comments because he's trying to put all his energy elsewhere, and he's been really focused on his real estate career, which is actually pretty obvious from his Instagram. He posts a lot of inspirational stuff and talks about his real estate achievements a lot, and he's clearly focused on making his life better and achieving all his goals, and maybe all those comments were, distracting him from all of it, or maybe they were just bringing him down. Like I said, he was getting a lot of negative comments, and since he otherwise seems pretty happy, maybe he wanted to get rid of that last bit of negativity, and he has a good job. He's been working out a lot more, and he might even be in a new relationship, so why would he want to keep reading all those comments about his and Chantel's divorce, especially if he still believes that there's more to the story and that his, whole situation really isn't on him? And if he does, I honestly want him to be more open about it and about what happened. And also, I really want him to confirm if he's with Antonella or not, because at this point it seems pretty obvious, so I just don't understand why they haven't said anything official yet, and maybe they're waiting for their respective divorces to go through, but I mean, that could take ages. And Antonella also has a baby with Daniel, so maybe she's, thinking about her kid and what would be best for her family in this situation. But what do you guys think? Do you think Pedro is with Antonella? It seems pretty obvious to me, but do you think she's getting a divorce as well? Guys, let me know in the comments below, and like always, do me a huge favor, hit that like, follow, share, subscribe button, and y'all better stay tuned for many more videos.